Okay, you got mail. Jonathan Fibonacci. Check it out. I'm going to answer some email. There I am, Jonathan Fibonacci. Email me, americana417@gmail.com. You know, I am an Enneagram expert. Now, you might have seen me already. I do all kinds of, what do you want to call it? Well, just videos on things that I care about. And one thing I care about is healthy relationships. And the Enneagram, which is kind of an ancient personality profile. I hate to call it that, but here I am out here just kind of enjoying a beautiful, I think it's Memorial Day, getting some email on the Enneagram. Now, I got an email from Rachel. She's like, all right, Jonathan Fibonacci, I want your Fibonacci on this guy that I'm dating. I'm like, okay, well, I'll do my best. You know, go fund me. She even said she was going to compensate me. If you would love for me to, or like me to kind of give you some specific coaching or some consultation, I would love to do that. Go fund me, Jonathan Fibonacci. Just ask me, or just email me, americana417@gmail.com, and just say, all right, Jonathan, we think you're awesome. We love your YouTube stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Send me your Bank of America stuff. And you could just, you know, send me what, $100, $200. What are healthy relationships worth to you? I mean, I'll ask that again. You know, the Enneagram really, in its essence, is just a fancy word for healthy relationships. Now, the Enneagram has been around for what, hundreds of years. And for people who are new to it, it's really a breakdown of the 9 energies or personality profiles. There's 9 energies. I like to refer to them as energies versus saying I am an 8. Now, technically, whenever I take the Enneagram test, now this is me, Jonathan Fibonacci, I always test as an 8-wing 7. And I first found the Enneagram when I was in business. I was in Austin, Texas, kind of struggling. I was in finance. And then I found this thing called the Enneagram, and it helped my business dramatically. So whether you're in a relationship or you're wanting to improve your business bottom line, I can't think of a better, not a program, but, you know, wisdom. You know, the Bible speaks about wisdom and the importance of wisdom. You know, and whenever I took a business from what, 30,000 to 100,000, it was just me and Jesus, and I used the Enneagram as a central piece of that because, well, I can speak to business and the Enneagram in a different video. I want to talk to Rachel. Rachel has a boyfriend. She has a problem. You know, I think all women named Rachel have a problem with a boyfriend. Now, here's the skinny. Rachel's an 8-wing 7. She's in a relationship with the 7. So, what does Jonathan Fibonacci have to say about an 8 energy female in a relationship with the 7? Well, initially she emailed me. This is Rachel. She emails me last night. She's like, "Can you do some coaching?" I said, "Sure. Just drop me $100, $200." And then I asked her some, you know, personal questions like, you know, what is your wing? Kind of tell me some of the basic stuff. And she, you know, she responded like an 8. You know, she talks about the fights that they're having, and, you know, and how do I make all this kind of trying to, you know, do my YouTube channel and trying to make everything all pretty and great and change people's lives. So let's talk about the Enneagram with an 8 female in a relationship with a 7. Now, I have good news and I have bad news. Now, this may sound like I'm kind of anti-7, and I'm not, because I'm an 8-wing 7. But, you know, her email sounded exactly like every 8 in a relationship with a 7, which is basically, to make it simple and efficient, an 8 is sort of a, well, we are dominant creatures. We like specificity, we like clarity, we could be overly serious. You know, I like to joke that one of the reasons why God gave me a sense of humor is so that I wouldn't be an asshole 24/7. You know, 8s, well, just, you know, look at Pablo Escobar. I mean, 8s changed the world. I mean, Martin Luther King. I mean, we are formidable forces. And if there's one thing I would love to do in these Enneagram videos is help you discover your own energy and help you love that energy and to operate in that energy in a little bit wiser way. Let me say that again. When we learn who we are and we learn how God made us, and we begin to operate in that wisdom, then we begin to accept ourselves, and we also choose relationships in a wiser way. Well, everybody knows who's in a relationship. We know that every relationship has its advantages and its disadvantages. I mean, like an 8 with a 1 is its own animal. You know, generally speaking, 8 energy and 1 energy, that's not really a compatible energy. Now, On the other side of the coin, 8s and 2s, for all kinds of reasons we could talk about later. Maybe if you want me to come to your church or your organization, I can kind of do kind of more of a corporate, group seminar, if you will, on the different energies. But some of the energies have an inherent compatibility. In a similar way, a lot of the energies are incompatible. Now, 8s and 7s require a little bit extra effort because 8s generally are caretakers. We are, well, let me just be simple or straightforward. Often with an 8 and a 7, the 8s become a caretaker to the 7's Peter Pan. And 7s, well, she wrote it down. I even made notes of it. She said that he said to her, and I wrote this quote down. She said that the 7 told her, maybe we should just join forces, nothing serious. And maybe we can just live our lives out together so we won't be alone. That was a direct quote from Rachel on her 7 boyfriend. Now, of course, that offended her because what the 7 is really saying is in essence, I don't want anything serious. I don't want anything that's going to infringe upon my freedom. Because remember, the immature 7's energy is saying, in effect, I don't want to grow up. And by proxy, the Enneagram 7 is saying, or the immature 7 is saying, I would love to be in a relationship with a caretaker who would assure that I don't ever have to grow up. And so what starts out as a fun relationship kind of ends and dwindles where the 8 is becoming, well, like the mom or the dad. And there's so much that I can speak to with the 8 energies, and specifically the differences in the gender. Like, for example, 8s and men, men are kind of expected to be 8 energy. I mean, it's easier to be an 8 energy man than an 8 energy female. Let me say that again. Women have a harder time being 8s because inherently we view feminine energy with something softer and tender. And while 8s are profoundly tender and profoundly soft, because of just the way life has brought us up and the way, we just had to grow up, 8s kind of became, well, fighters and warriors. And 7s have their own journey. So what advice do I give to anybody dating a 7? Well, let me show you something from the Bible. And I know you're like, okay, Jonathan Fibonacci, we love your advice, but we don't really want you to go biblical. And I'm like, well, let me show you something that I think would help anybody watching this channel. And it talks about a weighted balance. And maybe you have seen this, but let me show it to you in a different light. This is Proverbs 11. And it talks about how, this means all kinds of things, but it says, in Proverbs 11, it says, an unrighteous dealings are offensive to the Lord, but it says a just weight is his delight. And then it talks about humility, and it says those that are humble are lowly, and they're pruned, and they're chiseled by trial. Okay, in essence, the 8 energy is a person who has been chiseled by trial, whether it's abuse, whether it's been neglect. 8s are inherently chiseled by trial and pruned. That's what makes us wonderful and great. We often had to grow up way too early, way too fast. A lot of times 8s were abused or have a history where we had to grow up so quickly where we kind of basically said, I'm going to be an adult and take care of myself. Now 7 energy resist being chiseled at all. In fact, the essence of 7 energy says, I will not feel pain. So think about that. When you're dating an immature 7, you are dating a person who is in effect saying, I do not want to have trial. I don't want to be serious. I don't want to grow up. I don't want pain. Well, guess who has to guess who becomes the beneficiary of a 7's Peter Pan? Well, whoever they're dating. So when a 7 says nothing serious, what they're really saying is, I don't want to grow up. So my advice to Rachel is, well, own your 8 energy and go date a man. There's a difference between dating a man and dating a boy. And often 8 energies, specifically women, we are attracted, or women are, let me say this in general. 8s are attracted to childlike spirits, or innocence, because the 8 is inherently an innocent spirit. So the attraction with 7 energy is there. I mean, everybody loves 7 energy because they're fun, they're happy. And one thing I love about my own 7 energy is that, well, I like to have a good time. I like variety. And you can just watch my videos and see that it's kind of random. But when it comes to relationships, the 8 has a different agenda. 8s want someone that they can depend upon, someone so that when they go through trials, that person is there for them. And 7s, especially if they're immature, what they're really saying is, I don't want to grow up. So what do I do? What's the advice? And it may surprise you. Rachel, if you're dating a 7, what do you do? Well, go camping with them. You're like, go camping? Your advice to an 8 dating a 7 is to go camping? Well, now remember, this is on YouTube, and I'm trying to talk to all kinds of people and kind of grow a consulting business, and hopefully you'll contribute, and and I can help all kinds of people with their relationship problems, and I can introduce the wisdom of the Enneagram, but without going into real specific detail to people I don't know. The advice I would give to an 8 dating a 7 is, I would say, take him camping and let him be the man. Let him go through the trials of putting up tents, and let him go through the trials of navigating. You don't drive, let him drive. And notice, if you're dating an immature 7, he will slowly, lose interest in the relationship because you're showing by your actions that you want him to be a man, and he's saying, I just want to be a boy and play around. But if you notice 8 energy, that you have a hard time staying in the passenger seat. So take him camping. Take him to noisy San Francisco where I'm at. Get your 7 out of this little fantasy email box and take him into the real world. Take him camping, or maybe take him somewhere where he has to step up and be a dude. And you'll notice slowly the emails stop, and he slowly moves to another person who will basically take care of him. Because one of the foibles of dating a 7 is that they just don't want to grow up. They want to remain boys. They want to be Peter Pan forever. Now, does that mean all 7s are bad? No, remember, I'm an 8-wing 7, so 7s are awesome. I mean, like Robin Williams. I mean, look at what happens to the 7 as they get older. They become sages. And there's nothing more beautiful than the wisdom of the 7 in a mature place, chiseled by fire. But 8s, just because we've been chiseled, doesn't mean we don't deserve to be with someone who has our back. In fact, here's a little secret about the 8s. We're not near as tough as people think we are. We just have had to depend upon ourselves because nobody else was around. And one of the best ways to be miserable if you're an 8 is to hang out with people that have never been chiseled by trial, who refuse to renounce self, and who just the mere idea of being pruned is offensive. The Bible simply says these people are not humble. So where do we go from here? Well, like I said, I could talk about the importance of, or the difficulties of 8 energy as a female, and that's its own discussion of how challenging it can be for women. I mean, think of a Roseanne Barr character. I mean, that is a classic 8 energy female, and again, strong and wise, but often. There's not a place in our society for outspoken women, especially when you start putting cultural overlays on that. So if you have any other questions on the 8 energy, let me know. Again, I love the Enneagram, and the Enneagram is just simply a fancy word for relationships. So whether it's business or love, lust, maybe you just have a general Enneagram question, email me, americana417@gmail.com. Say, all right, Jonathan, here's $100. Give me your Bank of America wiring stuff, and I have a question for you. And then you may drop me $100. You may drop me $200. But I promise you, if you really use the Enneagram and you let it become a part of you, for every time that the Enneagram blesses you, give me $50. I would only have to do about 5 videos, and I would retire a wealthy man. Because remember, I said I took a business from nothing to $200,000. Jesus and I did, using the wisdom of the Enneagram. You're like, well, how'd you do that? Well, email me, say, all right, Jonathan, I have a question on business in the Enneagram, here's $100. Or I have a question on dating. Or, hey, all right, John, what do you think about this situation? Wisdom cries out. Thank you for taking this journey with me. email me your questions, Americana417 at gmail.com. Just like the coffee, email me, Americana417 at gmail.com. And on a personal note, let me say to Rachel, a person I don't know, a person I just got an email from, you deserve to be with somebody who is as strong as you. Let me say that again, because if there's any creature alive that needs to be reminded that they are worthy of love as strong as they are, it's the Enneagram 8. And then if I were to get really, really bossy, I would say, have you dated a 2? Have you dated a 5? There's all kinds of inherent compatibilities when the Enneagram 8s date 2s or 5s or even 4s. Of course, every energy has its pluses and minuses, and I would love to help bring some wisdom and, more importantly, some life and love to your life using the Enneagram. So email me, Americana417 at gmail.com. Boom. And then maybe if you're a flowerologist, you can tell me what this flower is. You know, I moved out here to San Francisco, and one thing about San Francisco is it has all kinds of gorgeous flowers. In fact, I saw this one flower that I was like, what the fuck is it? And I put it online, and somebody looked up the genus, species, and they forgot to tell me where they were at. So don't do that. If you email me, you got to tell me where you're at. I always love to know how far this channel is growing. I got some love from Australia, of course, Texas. My leading states are California, Colorado, Illinois for some reason, Oklahoma, New York. Enneagram question, email me, Americana417 at gmail.com. Close out with the word humility, chiseled by trial. Think about that, parents. You know, in all your parenting, is your parenting preventing children from even growing up? And how parenting in the Enneagram is its own wealth of wisdom. Boom. Drop me $100. Email me, Americana417 at gmail.com. That's a wrap. One and done, baby. One and done. Just all right, take Jonathan. Send us your Bank of America stuff. Drop me $100, and I would love to answer your own unique relationship question. Because relationships are the nectar of life. And when we bring wisdom to relationships, our lives are simply better.